In the past 12 years that have preceded 2023, okay, 13 draft classes that are inside of that time frame. From 2010 clear through to 2022, we're talking the Howie Roseman period of drafts, okay? Did you know that we've only selected 4 edge rushers in the top 100? Like, not even joking, guys. We've only selected 4 edge rushers in the top 100 underneath Howie Roseman. Shocked me, if I'm going to be honest with you. 2017, we selected Derek Barnett, 14th overall. In 2012, we selected Vinny Curry with the 59th pick. In 2010, we actually doubled up pass rusher in the top 100. We selected Brandon Graham with the 13th pick, and then we turned around and circled back and got Daniel Teo Nisham with the 86th pick of the 2010 NFL draft. Even if I back this lens out further and I go the entire 21st century, we have only drafted 8 players in the top 100 at the edge rushing position. Not kidding, guys. Here's the list here. Victor Abamiri, 57th pick, 2007. Chris Gokong, the 71st pick in 2006. Jerome McDougal, the 15th pick in 2003. And Derek Burgess, the 63rd pick in 2001. With all that information in mind that I just gave you, I want to talk about today's topic, which is edge rusher BJ Ojulari, LSU. All right, guys, let's get it. What's up, Cerebral Football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. Sorry, guys, I know that was a very informative but also long introduction, but nonetheless, I think it gives you kind of an insight to, man, this is going to be an interesting draft class this year because there's good quality players in this draft, but there's not those blue chip players. We've already talked about the fact that you only have a couple blue chippers in this draft class, but you got a pretty solid mid-round draft, kind of set up here. You got like really solid guys, probably from picks 45 all the way through to pick 100. I think you're going to have a really good group of players there. But when I look at this Philadelphia Eagles team, I think you know, and I think I know it as well, guys. I think we're all in agreement here. The Eagles have got to walk away with somehow identifying depth along the defensive line. We've got some aging guys both in the interior and on the outside, and you're going to have rotation following this year. You're going to have answers. You're going to have players in those positions, right? In addition to the interior D-line and in the edge rushing position, we know that this offensive line on the right side in particular, it's on borrowed time, man. I mean, whatever Lane Johnson gives us from here on out, this is all just, this is icing on the cake at this point. Like, Lane Johnson has done more than I ever thought he would ever do when we selected him way back when. So, I mean, I'm really happy, and I'm grateful for every year we're getting at this point with Lane Johnson. So we know that, interior defensive line, we know the edge rushing spot, we definitely know that offensive line, right? Corner, it's not an immediate pressing need, but let's be real, man. We got 2 30-year-old corners out there, 30-plus-year-old corners playing, outside. So, age is undefeated, man. Age don't lose. It's going to eventually catch everybody, right? When I look at this team and I look at the needs, it's like, okay, I would like the Eagles to go get an impact player, and I think one of the easiest ways in the modern NFL to impact a game is getting the edge rush, right? Getting your edge rusher, getting guys that you can bring in waves off the edges. It just disrupts quarterback play. With that said, I can't ignore the history. So when I talk about BJ Ojulari, I think he's a guy that if you look at that 30th pick all the way out to 62, I mean, if he were to slide down the board, which I don't see that happening. But let's say the Eagles traded back the 30th pick or just stayed put and said, yeah, we're taking an edge rusher and it's BJ Ojulari. What is the type of player the Philadelphia Eagles would be receiving here? To begin with, I think BJ Ojulari is an interesting name just because he's a little different from some of the other dudes I've broken down. Like, he's definitely a stand-up, on-ball kind of like, he's one of those overhang type players. That's what he is as a pass rusher. He's 6'2", but weighs 248 pounds. So from the body frame type, he's kind of like, Patrick Johnson. I mean, they're a little similar in terms of the body frame. The difference is this is a much more twitchier athlete than Patrick Johnson is. 34.25-inch arm reach. I mean, he's a long, kind of elongated body frame for him, right? This is a longer, lengthier pass rusher, to be honest. 10.5-inch hands, an 81.875-inch wingspan, basically an 82-inch wingspan. So, I mean, this guy's got a lot more length than what we're used to on the edges. Like, the Eagles don't seem to shy away from getting, like, guys with 32-inch arm reach. Like, outside of Josh Sweat, the norm's around 82. It's somewhere around, like, 32 inches in terms of the arm reach for the Eagles. Testing. This is where it gets a little complex with this particular prospect because he had a hamstring injury that kind of limited his ability to perform in certain tasks. What I saw was a 4.59 40 reported, but I can't see the splits. I'm not a huge fan of full 40 times. I mean, if we have a defensive end playing above 20 yards, something went horribly wrong, to be honest here. So take with that what you will. He put up 24 bench reps, had a 32.5-inch vertical, 126-inch broad jump, and a 7.57 3-cone. That 3-cone drill, I think he's a better lateral athlete than that indicates, but that's what he put up. I will say that I wish we knew the 10 split because if I'm looking at a 32.5-inch vertical with 126-inch broad jump and I got something that's under a 1.610 split, then I got a pretty athletically gifted player, and the testing results would seem to indicate the type of twitch I'm seeing on film, which he is. He's very much like explosive, twitchy kind of guy on film. The other thing I like about this young man is when I was watching the film, and I'm not saying to take these things out of context, guys. These are just a couple of highlights where like someone like New's got really good eyes and has been around the game for as long as I've been around it, coaching it, scouting it. I have a way of picking up on what I'm seeing here. And what I see is an ability for this guy to bend the edge a little bit. He was showing me that on a couple of the clips that I had in front of me, to where I saw him flatten out and actually bend. And I was like, oh, okay, like this young man, there's something here. Like, the other thing I liked a lot on film about this young man is the way that they were using him on like stunts and twists. Now, the downside is that underneath Jonathan Gannon, and mind you, scheme will be similar, but you might get slight subtle differences, and this could be one of the differences you get. I don't think that we allowed our players to use stunts enough. I do think that's one way of not necessarily bringing extra guys in the box, not necessarily blitzing more guys, but you could just get a 4-man pass rush or a 5-man pass rush, and you can win if you're using stunts and twists. It makes it hard for you to know where everyone's going to be on the line. I think BJ Ojulari was pretty good at the stunts and twists, if I'm being honest. The other thing that I saw on film that I liked a lot about this young man is they lined him up not only just outside as an overhang, but I mean, they put him in like the B gaps and stuff like that, and they let his athleticism kind of take over games. And I thought that was pretty cool to see on film, to see a young man that's really accelerating in terms of like, okay, like just like we talked about, yesterday when I talked about Nolan Smith, if you got the right mind at defensive coordinator and you have the right athletic traits here, this young man becomes a weapon if you know how to use them. You know what I mean? The other thing that stood out to me is that the young man is fairly good in run defense. All that long frame stuff kind of plays into his advantage. Like, he does a pretty good job keeping his feet out there. Now, I'll say this. When you're under 250 pounds and you're playing on the line of scrimmage, like, I mean, there's going to be limitations, man. If they double to you and pull that way, like, the best thing you could probably do is just seal off and hold your gap and keep your feet. I mean, you're probably not going to be a disruptor at that point. But you can definitely like make things a little tougher on the line to get a push on you. So, I mean, there's going to be limitations because we're talking about a sub, 250-pound, on-ball player. But at the same time, like, I do think that his length kind of showed up on the film in that regard. You could see that he was disruptive, man. He made it tough on guys. He made it really difficult for them to run on him. All right, guys, leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think about BJ Ojulari. This is another one of these guys that they brought in for a visit. He was here for, I think he actually got a top 30 visit, if I'm not mistaken. If not, it was like a combine visit. So let me know what you think, guys. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys on the next video.